After a long 3.5–4 hour journey, we are finally in the beautiful, not so sunny Devon. We're down at Furzebray Lakes and we've got the Copse lake for 48 hours. It's a beautiful, beautiful, intimate little lake, about 1.5 acres, something like that. And after chatting to the owner, we've been made aware that there's about 50 carp in here. So it's not an overstocked puddle and there are still plenty of fish to go to. Some of the fish are stunning, real scaly ones, some dumpy ones, some longer ones. So it really is a box of chocolates and I am very excited to get going. I've had a little wander around and straight away I think it's going to be marginal fishing. Like I said, it's not a very big lake, so I can just see that they're going to be patrolling up and down these margins, or at least that's what I think is going to happen anyway. So I've had a walk round, I've got a bait bucket there full of bits and bobs. I'm going to go and bait a few little spots in the edge for the daytime, and I'm going to plot up in a swim that did a couple of fish at the weekend for the night time. So that's the plan. It may change. I've never been to the lake before, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. There's some lovely carp in here and I can't wait to get started. I'm going to go and have a look. So this is the mix that I like to use on sessions such as this, where there's not many nuisance species. I'm fairly new to the water. Like I said, I don't know a lot about it. So this is the mix that I use at many places like that. First things first, the bulk of the mix is boilie and boilie crumb. So I've added some Triple X in there. That's the boilie that I have 100% confidence in and use most of the season, to be honest. So I'll put Triple X in there, chop it up through a ridgemonkey crusher, and then I add some 10 millers as well. The second thing I add is some casters. All carp love casters. Don't know what it is about them. I think it's that crunch factor. They obviously love the taste of maggots as well. So I've added some maggots in there, some red ones. It's quite coloured water here as well, so the red will hopefully show up a little bit in the water. Then finally, I like to add some of the good old golden grain sweet corn. There isn't a carp in the world that doesn't like sweet corn, and that extra fleck of colour and obviously taste as well will hopefully get the carp honing in. So that is the mix that I'm going to be using on this session. One thing that I like to do also is prepare it all in the van, so I don't have to carry sweet corn cans, tubs of maggots and just extra bulk that will weigh me down and might even prevent me moving. So I like to take one bucket of bait, prep it all in the van beforehand, and I can always nip back to the van should I run out of bait, which I hopefully will. But yeah, that's my mix. Hopefully it'll work. Just getting a couple of rigs ready. One thing that's very apparent, it's going to be a bit of a flitting around sort of piece, I think. It's a very intimate little water and the carp definitely going to move around a lot. So I'm going to get the first rod out on a bit of a washing line method. Had a little wander around in the corner and put a bit of bait in some spots, and both Brad and I heard some water coming in. There's a field right next to the lake with a little inlet stream coming in, and sort of right along one of the banks is a load of coloured water, really murky, sort of cloudy water coming into the lake. Could be that's colouring it up, or there could be some carp there. So looking at that, having not seen any more signs, it seems a perfect starting point. So I'm going to go and washing line a rod up there now, sit on it for a couple of hours, see what happens. Well, the sun is slowly going and we're getting towards afternoon time now. Things have been quiet. We haven't seen a carp as yet. Seen a few little discolorations in the water, but no carp. So we've seen no evidence of our quarry whatsoever, which obviously isn't ideal. But I'm having a little flick around with the lead now. The owner's told me that there's a gravel bar out there that sort of slopes down into 6-7 foot of water, and there's sort of clay at the bottom of it. So I'm just having a little flick around with the lead now. Obviously a nice short drop will indicate I'm on the bar. Pulling it off with a longer drop will indicate I'm in that slightly deeper water. So as soon as I've found that deeper water, I'm going to clip up, get the rod wrapped up, get it out there, and a little bit of bait out there. You never know, we'll catch something at night. The second rod, I've actually seen a sort of overhanging branch there on the island, which looks pretty inviting. So I'm going to have a little cast around that as well, and hopefully there's a little bit of depth there, and that'll be my 2 rods in position. It's a 2 rod only venue, so just got the 2 rods, little 9-footers, little reels, ideal for a little water like this. So hopefully we'll catch something. We are getting towards evening time now. The sun setting just behind the fields, and I've got a little bit of confidence inside because I've seen the first fish of the session. Not in the landing net just yet, but 30-40 yards past my right hand rod spot, the fish come out 3 times, and it looked like a good fish as well. Easily 20 plus. Looked like a real sort of orangey mirror by the looks of it. So he would do nicely. I've got both rods out now. Like I said, I flicked the right hand rod just off of that gravel bar in the deeper water, sort of 6 or 7 foot. Goes from sort of 3 foot, then slopes down. Absolutely perfect, on quite hard bottom as well. It's a little bit gravelly, a little bit of silt in there. And then the left hand rod I've placed just off of a tree, sort of towards the island, in a lot sort of stodgier lake bed. Quite silty. Just thought I'd do 2 different methods. I don't know the lake at all, so I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So I've got 2 different spots, and yeah, hopefully tonight will bring some success. We did hear what we think was a fish as well about an hour ago, sort of over the other side of the lake. So there's definitely carp in here, and let's just hope that they're willing to feed. We'll see. Good morning all. Nothing to report, unfortunately, which is not ideal. Saw a fish show last night, not overly far away from one of the rods, so I was kind of expectant in the night time, but one liner just on dark is all that happened, which is kind of frustrating. We haven't seen a lot. Up at first light, wandering around, no shows. Really seems quiet. The whole complex is quiet, which isn't an excuse, but there's a lot of fields around here, and there's a lot of cold water running into all the lakes at the moment. They're very coloured. Like I said, there's a lot of water flowing in, which is going to make the water temperatures cold, which isn't ideal, obviously. But we're going to keep positive. I have had a little walk round, and I have found an area that put a bit of bait in because it just looked a slightly different colour to the rest of the lake. It was almost like a grey sort of colour, and the lake does have a lot of clay on the bottom. I'm hoping that it might have been a fish possibly kicking up a bit of clay, so I've put a bit of bait in there, and I'm going to go and check it as soon as I've done this piece to camera. Actually, I'm going to get over there, have a look, and even if I'm not 100% it's carp, I'm going to lower a rig in there anyway, because you never know. I've got nothing else to go on, and unless I start seeing some bubblers, showers, you know, plumes of silt coming off the bottom, then there's not a lot to go on at all. I'm just going to have to keep dotting round all day, you know, just trying likely looking areas. So yeah, not a lot to go on at the moment. I'm hoping that it's going to be a bit brighter today. The sun's going to get up a little bit. You never know, it might get them on the move. But for now, we'll keep checking the spots, keep walking around, keep mobile. Hopefully winker one out. I've got another night as well, so see what happens today. Well, the session is moving quickly, so I feel like I need to get my skates on. This morning, the rod that I popped into that milky sort of cloudy water ripped off, and after a few minutes she fell off. So absolutely burnt to a singe with that. Brad was shooting GVs at the time. I had to shout him over, and before he got over it had already fallen off. So absolutely gutted by that, but I pulled my socks up. I was doing loads of laps of the lake today, got blisters on my feet no doubt, and one thing that I spotted is quite a few bubblers in one area of the lake, an area opposite over there. So I've decided that I'm going to pack down, get over there, pop some rods where I saw the bubblers, and probably spend the duration of the session there. We've got till tomorrow. I doubt I'm going to move anymore. This area just looks completely dead of fish, and after hooking that fish earlier, I was going to put a rod back in there and it just went dead, to be honest. I saw a lot more happening over the other side, slight discolorations in the water and bubbles, which was the main thing. And the bubbles were moving as well. They were definitely carp feeding. So I'm going to drown my sorrows quickly with this cup of tea, pack down, get myself over there. You never know, we might put one on the bank. It's all a learning curve, but I feel like I'm getting somewhere slowly. So I've decided to use two different rigs on this session, mainly because I don't know the lake really, and I'm unsure whether pop-ups are going to score, bottom baits or whatever. So I'm mixing it up. I'm fishing this rig on one rod and a Ronnie presentation on the other. As you can see, this is just a simple fluorocarbon to supple braid combi rig, something that I have utmost confidence in. I'm fishing this on quite a hard spot, so you'll notice I'm using quite a big lead and a relatively short hook link. On the end I've got a size 4 beaked point hook, ultra sharp, and that's tied blowback style to a little whittled down XXX and a Northern Special, and that will just create a sort of snowman rig where the bait will literally sit up off the hook like that, nice and balanced on the lake bed, waiting for Mr. Carp. You'll notice that I'm fishing fluorocarbon. Many of the waters that I fish back at home are quite clear, so that's the reason for the fluorocarbon. It's not so much here, but I like the stiffness in the fluorocarbon to just push that away from the lead. You'll notice that I've got a lead clip system there to some tubing. Lead core is banned here, so I'm just opting for a nice simple safety clip to tubing, and hopefully it's going to work. Over on the Ronnie rig, I'm just fishing a bright pop up on the end, tipped with a few maggots, and hopefully that sort of extra movement and the natural bait might nick a bite. But yeah, they're my two presentations. Hopefully they're going to do the job. The rods are finally sorted, and it may look like it's night time now, but actually it's only about 5:15. The daylight hours are really, really short this time of year. But I'm confident. I've actually seen a fish swirl out there, so I feel like I'm in the right half of the lake now. It's cold, I'm damp, a little bit wet, but I'm a lot more confident tonight. Just feel like something might happen. And what's more, we're going to get a takeaway shortly, which will be very, very nice. So to top it off will be a nice scaly carp. Let's see what happens. Well, good morning. Finally, we've got a fish in the net. The rod rattled off about 10 minutes ago, and we seem to have the smallest fish in the pond in the net, but I can't complain. It's been a really, really tough trip, this one. No doubt from the influxes of all this cold water. The rain hasn't stopped, and it's made things very, very difficult. But we've caught one, so avoided the blank. I'm going to show you this fish shortly. The rain is just starting to slow down, so as soon as it stops, we'll get the fish out and show you. It's an absolute beauty. Only a small one, but it has prevented the blank. We have got till sort of lunchtime this afternoon time, and we had a bite yesterday at around that time, so I'm kind of hoping that we might get something a little bit bigger today. So I'm going to start walking, doing some laps once again shortly, and hopefully we'll get something bigger. For now, I'm going to get the kettle on, have a celebratory cup of tea, and then we'll show you this fish. This is the result. It's been non-stop rain pretty much the whole session, like a monsoon it was last night. We've just had a little break, hence why we're filming her now. It's only one of the little pups of the lake, but I'm delighted that it's avoided the blank. We have got a bit of time left. We've got till sort of lunchtime-ish, so I'm hoping that we might get one of the bigger residents in the lake. But what a cracking carp this is, and yeah, a real credit to Furzebray. Beautiful little carp. Hopefully we'll see one of the bigger ones in a while. We are into the final few hours of the session, and as normal, I've been on my feet for the majority of the morning, wandering around since first light trying to find fish. And after staring intently in this swim, I started seeing a couple of the reeds knocking, and on closer inspection there were no birds or anything in there, so it just had to be carp. And we've only got a few hours left, so I've reeled in the other rods and I'm going to try this area just for the last few hours, and hopefully the carp gods will shine even in this dismal weather. So I'm going to get a rig over there now, you never know. Well, finally, after all that hard work and graft in the damp, soggy, muddy, horrible weather, we finally got a good one in the net. It was all a bit mental really. Flicked the rod out. Brad was just taking a few bits back to the van because we are due to go in the next couple of hours, but he left it. He was more confident than I was. He left the camera on a wide and it ripped off. So might be a bit dodgy footage, but we got some of the fight at least, and I have a rhino in the net. Looks definitely 20 plus, so I'm delighted that we've got a bigger one. It just shows that all that hard work and effort, standing out in the rain, looking for bubblers, looking for the reeds twitching, was all worthwhile. Delighted with that. Let's have a look at it. Well and truly saved by the bell. Well chuffed for this one, £22 and a lot bigger than the one I had this morning. Been a real grueler of a session with the weather, absolute nightmare. The fish have been tricky to catch, no doubt due to all the cold water that's gone in here. But hard work, graft and a load of walking has resulted in this cracking 20 plus mirror. I'd like to thank Tony at Furzebray, a wonderful, wonderful little lake with a very bright future, and both Brad and I cannot wait to come back.